I love how disconnected the journalists are from the actual situation on the ground. Like, they're talking about food insecurity, and they're showing me a picture of what appears to be a young, white, middle class Canadian woman. And she's single and is looking a little bit concerned, but like, it's not the face of horror. It's more like the face of checking the aisle and noticing that there's no rosé wine. Like, you're talking about food insecurity. Get married, lady. Get married. Like, you have the opportunity that very few other people have if you're young and a woman. You can find the guy and you can pitch your wage together so that you don't fucking starve to death. You need to start changing your mentality. No, seriously, like, the progressive mindset is what led Canada here to begin with. You guys don't understand what food insecurity is. It's the idea that tomorrow you may not have any food in the house nor money to buy some. Like, can you imagine that? No, seriously, like, try to imagine that for the next week you don't have any cash in your house. Like your bank account is empty, your wallet is empty, your fridge is empty, and you don't know what you are going to eat. This is what happened when we had progressive ideology called communism back in the day in Eastern Europe. It's horrible. And it's not just the fact that you don't have food to eat. If you don't have food to eat, you don't have money for anything else. If something breaks down, your washing machine breaks down, your sink has a problem with the pipes, you don't have money for that either. If your cat gets sick, assuming that you're rich enough to afford the cat, you don't have money to take it to the vet. That's what food insecurity is. That's what they're talking about. And so when you actually look at the statistics, they're so fucking grim. Like, again, this is Canada. This is a first world nation. I don't know if they ever dealt with something like this before, but they're talking about like 16.9% of Canadians are food insecure. And the number is growing rather than going down. Like, this is insane. We're not talking about, like some random people at the outskirts of society. No. These are like people living in the big cities, and they're middle class, and they're falling from middle class, not like a little bit below the ladder. They're falling into absolute destitute poverty. Like, the situation is pretty fucking grim. And it's not like there was like a plague of locusts that descended upon Canada. It's not like they were under a nuclear attack and they suffered a massive warfare. No, it's the leftist policies, the neoliberal, environmentalist, pro-immigration policies that everyone was telling them that it's going to eventually lead to this. And they were like, no, listen, we got the experts, right? Like, we got the experts, they're going to fix it. Why was it like the finance minister of Justin Trudeau rage quitting? Why do you think that happens? Like, usually you should look at the actions of politicians rather than what they say. Because she probably looked at the numbers and fuck this shit, I'm out. I'm not going to stick my name on this. And so, to make matters worse, you have Donald Trump coming up with tariffs. Now, a lot of Canadians thought that, well, he signed all of his executive orders, maybe we're safe. No. He's actually serious about this. And he, like, at first, it was like a joke that he wants to turn Canada into another state. But I'm starting to think that he may be serious about it. He actually went to the World Economic Forum and said, like, no, we're actually considering. It's like, yeah, we want to take Greenland, and we actually are interested in taking Canada. Now, I thought a little bit about this. Because a lot of people like to claim that, well, maybe he's insane, he lost it. But, like, he's got advisors, right? He's got his own experts. What I think is happening is that they're looking at the geopolitical scale. And they do not agree with the current world order. Like, if things go the way they have gone up until now, I think that they are worried China is actually going to become the world hegemon. Like, while America is hyper-focused on morality and gay people and trans issues, you have China allegedly making a new generational aircraft, AI that's capable of competing or even surpassing OpenAI without using any Americans to do it. Like, they only use people from China to create that AI. Whether they stole the technology or not, that's irrelevant. Like, the fact that they have it is what concerns a lot of Americans. A lot of America allies are actually connected to China. Like much of the manufacturing industry that happens in the European Union comes from China. And so they're looking at it and they're like, okay, we're still the world hegemon now, but like something has to change because the trajectory isn't in our favor. And not only that, but you have like the world experiencing turmoil with Ukraine, right? With Russia, with Israel. And so like, look, if America becomes weak, like those conflicts are going to become worse. Because everyone in the world is going to try to take advantage when an empire collapses. And so like, we need to show a display of strength. And, you know, if they manage to get Greenland, like that would definitely have Americans defend Greenland from anyone else that has ambitions over there. But, like, imagine if America and Canada, hypothetically speaking, were to become a nation. Like, that would be a superpower that goes beyond anything that existed on Earth before, probably rivaling, like, the British Empire at its peak, if not even stronger. Like you would have a nation the size of a continent. Like, it's something that's very difficult to wrap your mind off. And the problem, you know, would happen for, like, the next couple of decades while the two nations integrate and find ways to work with each other and, like, remake all of the legal systems and figure out, like, how to spread Canada into maybe more than one state. But, like, at the end of the day, once that happens, you would see a level of prosperity and wealth, like, unlike anything you can believe. Like the entire world, the entire rest of humanity can just disappear and Canada and America would still thrive. And so, like, this is probably what he is thinking, right? And he's looking at Canada and he's basically saying, okay, well, they fucked their economy beyond any reasonable doubt. Like, they placed their citizens in such a precarious position that, like, maybe now it's a historically opportune moment to actually try to convince them to become a state. And so, like, he's going to have tariffs on them. And he's going to say, well, they can always end if you guys just want to become a state, right? So it's like the carrot and the stick approach. And so now it's up to the Canadian leaders, it's up to them to find a solution. And the solution is to convince the people, it's like, no, we can actually fight against this. Like, we can actually find another option so that we don't become a state, but at the same time, you guys don't starve to death. And so, it's obviously expected that every nation is going to look out for its own interest, right? Like, Canada has no motivation in becoming a state, and they have no reason to go with what Trump is doing. And so, like, you need to put forward your world leaders. You need to put forward your smartest politicians, your statesmen, in order to convince the public that the situation is under control. Unfortunately, though, like, in the way that politics is made in 2025, it's all about reading from a prompter and not really being connected with reality. Like, you got a guy that's telling in your headset what to say. You got a prompter over there. You got your team of experts that are usually hired based on nepotism rather than merit. And they make, like, some of the worst gaffes ever imaginable when under stress. Like, if you put a modern politician under genuine duress, like when they actually have to face opposition, they're going to fuck up. And this is what happened. Like, one of the worst fuck-ups that I have ever seen was Justin Trudeau saying, it's like, okay, well, we're going to tariff the Americans in return. And I'm like, okay, you know, like, what else can he say? But he gives an example of Heinz ketchup. And for those of you who don't fucking know, Heinz ketchup is made in fucking Canada. So I wonder how the CEO or the owner of Heinz ketchup is sitting at this window and is wondering, like, holy shit, are they going to tariff us as well? Like, let's zoom out a bit and see how this looks. America starts putting tariffs on Canadian goods. And in retaliation, Canada puts tariffs on American goods and Heinz ketchup. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Again, you know, like, it's acceptable for someone like me to make such a blunder, alright? What is not acceptable is for someone that has an entire team of dedicated experts and fact-checkers to make such a blunder. But then again, it's not surprising given the fact that they had an actual Nazi, an SS guy in the parliament, and everyone applauded. Do you guys remember that? When they had, like, this guy, it's like, oh, he's a veteran from World War II. And he was fighting against the Russians. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Chatomate. And then when you look at the guy, he was an SS. And like the thing that shocked me isn't like, okay, well maybe this slipped past the cracks, like maybe they fucked up. But what really shocks me is that no one called it out. Like they're like lemmings. That these are not people that are genuine statesmen. Everyone, like thinking for themselves, being able to speak out. It's what happens at gaming companies, but at the national level. When you have like the culture of toxic positivity, where no one is allowed to speak out, no one is allowed to say an opinion and say, well, hold on a little bit, like we're making some mistakes here. Instead, like everyone claps, everyone goes with the leader, and the leader can sometimes be retarded. This is modern politics. And so I genuinely think that maybe Trump is taking advantage of this. Like the first time he went into office, all these other leaders, all these other cultures were mocking him and they were smug at him. And maybe now it's like being his second term is like, well, hold on a little bit. I'm the leader of the fucking United States of America. You know what? Why are they bullying me when I can bully them? Maybe this is what he is doing. Whatever it is, like from an American perspective, I can understand what he is doing. From an outside of American perspective, yeah, I hope my politicians manage to have some competent people in order to be able to navigate the interesting geopolitical currents that are coming. Because if you have politicians that are making this level of blunders, holy fucking shit. Like, just so you can understand, like, this is not a company that, like, was created yesterday. Like, this is a company with 100 years of prestige, if I'm not mistaken. So, like, Heinz Koh said it's deeply disappointed of Justin Trudeau threw a metaphorical tomato into the food manufacturer while discussing trade relations with the United States. While it's true that Kraft Heinz wasn't making ketchup in Canada at the time, it has since reopened Canadian production with more than 1,000 workers employed in Quebec-based facility. Kraft Heinz Canada is deeply disappointed that the Prime Minister has made misleading statements. And Heinz Ketchup, saying that Heinz Ketchup is not made in Canada and that it may be a potential target for countervailing tariffs. Like the funny thing is that such a thing can actually happen. Like, if you have incompetent people drafting legislation and they actually name drop Heinz Ketchup there, even though, like, they're not an American company and they're making the product in Canada, they can actually be affected because the letter of the law is more important than the spirit of the law. Yeah, anyway, it's going to be very difficult for Canadians and for a lot of cultures that experience prosperity. Because what happened across the world, especially in the West, for the last decade or so, a lot of people, and I gotta say, this is mostly due to my generation, the millennials. We grew up in a world of plenty. We grew up in a world that had peace. We grew up in a world that had almost everything a person needs. But we wanted to create our own problems. We wanted to create our own shit. And so movements like feminism started claiming that the West is a rape culture. We're going to promote no border ideologies that are going to encourage people that don't have the financial means to come and live here to do so. But that's okay because the taxpayer will pay for the welfare. Even though, like, the taxpayer may also struggle now to get jobs, it's no problem. Like, our nations have a limited number of jobs. And everyone is already employed. Like, that's fine. That sure really is sustainable, right? And we're going to ignore the cultural conflicts. In fact, we're going to crack down on the local population in favor of the newcomers. That's not going to cause any sort of discontent or anything like that. And then we're also going to promote environmentalism, and we're going to import stuff from China. And that was like the constant mentality for the last decades, right? Like, we created problems and destroyed our nations. This is like something that happened throughout the West. And the thing that we exported was morality. Like, that was our number one export. It's like, oh, we're very moral people. We don't create shit. We don't manufacture shit. We're going to get it from China. Fuck the people that make our food, another strong European value, which I don't know if Canada shares or not, but yeah, like taxing the farmer, coming up with various policies and regulations to make farming more difficult, like all of this stuff, right? And so, like, now we have economic woes that are self-inflicted. Like, there was no world conflict, there was no reason for this shit. And yeah, I mean, some people are going to take advantage of it. Those people are going to be China. That's going to try and take advantage of the situation. And of course, like Donald Trump is going to be, well, we can't let China take advantage. Like, we need to get in on it too. And so, seriously, this is not going to be about Trump. Like, it's going to be America's policy for the foreseeable future in trying to constantly secure its position as the world hegemon to make sure that China doesn't take over. And you're going to see this standard of tough diplomacy, even towards its allies, using the carrot and the stick. It's like, either do what we want and you're going to get a reward, or don't, and then we're going to treat you like a hostile. It can also backfire. Like, at any point, China can swoop in and say, yeah, we're going to have like an open market with Canada or some shit like that. Things are in flux right now. And the only hope that we have, and by we I mean people who live outside of America, is to make sure that we elect and support strong leaders, strong statesmen, in order to have common sense and try to navigate us through the storm. Let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.